The News Day continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Presidential aspirant and Vice President Leni Robredo once again calls for the review of COMELEC substitution rules. According to Robredo, a major substitution in the 2016 elections led to the trend of substituting candidates last minute. She says that this is tantamount to defrauding the voters, and she adds that revisiting the rules is the way to plug the loopholes in the law.
Kasi mula na nagkaroon ng major substitution noong 2016, parang uso na ngayon, naglalagay ng placeholder, tapos yung iba yung magfa-file. Para sa akin, panlilin lang yun sa voters eh. So sa akin, napapanahon na i-revisit talaga yung batas.
Presidential aspirant and Senator Ping Lacson went back to his hometown in Cavite last week to meet his fellow Caviteños, and he was accompanied by his endorsed senatorial aspirant and former broadcaster Rafi Tulfo. Daila Pangilinan tells us more.
The campaign rally of presidential aspirant and Senator Ping Lacson received a warm welcome from Caviteños on Friday. In Imus, Lacson's hometown, over 100 NGOs and support groups were in attendance. Incumbent Mayor Manny Maliksi walked side by side with the senator to show his all-out support for the sole Caviteño presidential.
Kailangan po talaga reformahan po ang ating pong pamahalaan. At syempre, ang kailangan po natin ay isang leader po talaga na magbabalik po ng tiwala sa ating pong pamahalaan.
Lacson was accompanied by former kapatid broadcaster Rafi Tulfo, who's gunning for a seat at the Senate. He was a guest candidate in Lacson's campaign rally.
Dati-rati, nasa 4 kantos lang ako sa studio at nakakausap ko lang via Zoom yung mga complainant. Ngayon, nakikita ko sila, nakahalubilo ko sila. Mas exciting, mas may tama talaga, tagos sa puso.
Tulfo also said that it was his admiration for Lacson that pushed him to join the Friday's rally. The senatorial aspirant said he is inspired by how Lacson instilled discipline in the police force during his time as PNP chief.
Nung siya chief PNP pa, napatigil niya yung pangungutong sa PNP at tumaas yung respeto ng PNP ng mga civilian sa mga police because of him, and he walked the talk.
On illegal drugs, Tulfo said that as a public servant, he aims to concentrate on rehabilitating drug addicts to prevent them from returning back to their addiction.
Maganda yung ginawa ni Senator Bato de la Rosa, yung tokhang, siya nag-imbento nun. However, kulang sa follow-up. Kasi pagkatapos na makapag-surrender yung isang addict, what's next? Wala. Kadalasan, nababalitaan po natin, this is the painful truth, yung mga sumusurrender ng kakamatay.
During the rally in Imus and Carmona, Lacson highlighted his BRAVE program, or his planned budget reform advocacy for village empowerment. Lacson said this will make sure that funds will not go to waste as it aims for the proper allocation and distribution of the budget. Lacson also met with the Cavite Mayor's League.
Dito ako pinanganak, dito ako nilay, dito ako nag-aaral. Napakahalaga personally para sa akin yung pinakitang suporta ng aking mga kababayan. So, kasi sa dulot-dulo, babalik sa lugar ng pinagsilangan mo, di ba?
For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, We Are One News.
Here are other recent developments in Philippine politics. Presidential aspirant and Senator Manny Pacquiao vows to impose a strict performance audit for government officials should he become president. Pacquiao says he would give his cabinet members up to 1 year to prove that they're worthy of their position. And he adds that he's ready to cut ties even with allies that are close to him if they are proven guilty of wrongdoings. UST Faculty of Civil Law Dean Nilo Divina says the attempts to oppose Bongbong Marcos's presidential bid will likely fail due to insufficient legal bases. Divina said the 57-page petition focused on the abuses of the Marcos family instead of presenting factual statements to support Marcos's ineligibility. And the camp of presidential hopeful Isko Moreno visited Iligan City in Lanao del Norte to seek support for the upcoming 2022 polls. Senatorial aspirant Carl Balita vows to remove the 50% tax in petroleum products to counter continuous oil price hikes. Another senatorial, Samira Guto, said their party, Acción Democrático, is now organizing 1 million volunteers for their campaign. 4Ps beneficiaries who refuse to get vaccinated may be barred from receiving cash aid. Interior Department spokesperson Jonathan Malaya said Secretary Eduardo Año wants a no vaccine, no subsidy policy. According to Malaya, Año proposed to the Social Welfare Department to disincentivize beneficiaries who refuse to get their jabs. The DILG assured the public that the government is ramping up efforts to boost the vaccination rate, even in far-flung areas. The DSWD says they're studying the no vaccine, no subsidy proposal for beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, or 4Ps. But speaking with Radyo 5 Ted Filon, Assistant Secretary Glenda Relova says that for now, they will stick with the current guidelines for 4Ps, which do not require vaccination among the program's recipients. Relova explained that the 4Ps were intended to be a human capital investment program for poor households. Still, Relova says the agency is encouraging the program's beneficiaries to get vaccinated.
Pag-aaralan po natin kung ano man po yung proposal na ito ng DILG, pero sa ngayon po kasi we have to stick with the current conditionalities po na meron under the law ng 4Ps.
Meanwhile, Vice President Leni Robredo maintains that she is not keen on mandatory vaccinations. She said that inoculating the public against COVID-19 is very important, but that it would be better to incentivize vaccinations rather than penalize those who are hesitant to receive their jabs.
Tingin ko hindi effective na way yung paparusahan mo o ifa-fine mo o hindi mo bibigyan ng pagkakataon. Nakita naman namin sa mga programs namin na when you give incentives, yung mga tao naman pumapayag ng kusang loob, and I think it's the more effective way.
In other news, limited healthcare capacity and vaccine hesitancy among the elderly are causing slow vaccine rollout in Puerto Princesa. Despite this, the provincial government of Palawan is hoping that they can fully reopen the province by 2022. Marian Enriquez tells us more.
El Nido and San Vicente in Palawan have already started opening their doors to tourists. Coron is expected to follow suit on November 15. But the opposite is true for Puerto Princesa. Most resorts in the province are still closed. Local tourists in the island are also a rare sight. Puerto Princesa Mayor Lucilo Byron admits their healthcare workers and facilities are limited. That's why Byron said they cannot afford to ease restrictions for now.
Dahil ilan lang yung hospital namin, 3 na maliliit lang. Tapos konti lang yung COVID beds na allocated. Tapos medyo ngayon, puno-puno sila. Nag-aantay pa ng 1 day bago makapasok o 2 days bago ma-accept yung mga patient. Kaya yung mga healthcare workers namin, mga doktor, medyo natatakot.
Although the local chief said they may start accepting domestic tourists by December. For now, the LGU is prioritizing its vaccine rollout. But the problem is the noticeable vaccine hesitancy among residents.
Parang naubos na namin yung mga talagang gustong-gustong magpabakuna. Nahirapan ako Kaya dinala namin sa mga barangay, nagbibigay kami ng incentive, lalo na sa mga senior citizen. Tapos nagka-campaign kami na yung mga areas na pwedeng puntahan, mga leisure area, fully vaccinated lang.
Authorities have already offered to give a 500 peso incentive for seniors who would get vaccinated. But that still didn't work. As of now, only 50% of senior citizens in Puerto Princesa are inoculated. 60-year-old Nanay Lida only just got vaccinated after witnessing how her brother-in-law almost died due to COVID-19.
Mga anak ko sabi niya, magpabakuna na kayo ni Papa. Kasi lahat na kami nakabakuna. Kaya na-engganyo rin ako.
In contrast, many flocked the first day of pediatric vaccinations in the area.
Kung magtuloy-tuloy ito, baka yung high school muna. Kasi yung mga teachers, yung mga nasa DepEd, fully vaccinated na yon. Ngayon, kung fully vaccinated na itong 12 to 17, high school age yan Baka sasabihin namin, buksan na natin yung high school. Pero yung elementary, hindi pa muna siguro.
Currently, 80,000 Puerto Princesa residents are fully vaccinated. They need to inoculate 100,000 more to reach herd immunity. On the other hand, only 20% of Palaweños have been vaccinated against COVID-19. Governor Jose Alvarez hopes that by next year, the entire province would finally reopen to tourists.
if we all follow like Manila, Manila from very high, then bakunado went to 80%, dive yung positivity, di ba? If we can replicate that all over the country, I hope we can return back to normal.
For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Last week, ending deforestation became a hot topic in the COP26. But it might be too late for Brazil's Amazon jungle. This Bloomberg Quick Take tells us why.
Brazil's government says it's working to stop deforestation. But behind the scenes, it's actively engaged in a campaign to privatize and develop the Amazon.
Brazilian government in the 70s and 80s, they had this big campaign to drive folks, millions of folks, into the Amazon, promising land for them. This is a conversation not just about the burning of the Amazon, but it's a very complex situation, and a lot of it is about land governance. Doing the deforestation, they're not necessarily terrible people, but they're in a situation where the government has encouraged deforestation in a lot of ways because they have no other sort of options in life. You know, they don't have education, they don't have any other way to be making money or feeding their family. And a lot of the poor Brazilians have been turned into sort of foot soldiers to clear this land that eventually ends up into industrial farming operations.
And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us later at 10:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We're One News.